Good evening and welcome back. I hope you guys are doing well. You have made it to midweek of Labor Day weekend. So you guys will hopefully be taking a little bit of time off, getting a 3-day weekend if you're back in America. So I know a lot of people are definitely looking forward to, I guess, a little break and everything else. Going to get into some things tonight because, well, we were going to talk about them no matter what. But considering what has transpired today in the United States, it is almost a little too timely. It's definitely sad to see people in America continuously have to normalize or become used to things that aren't normal. These things are realistically starting to probably be a little too much for people. I mean, I feel like it's already been too much. Safety is definitely a concern in the United States. I think that people are looking to think that other places in the world aren't set up where, you send your loved ones out to normal things, school, work, baseball game, whatever the case is, and it may be the last time you see them. Now, I will tell you that safety and different things look definitely different abroad. Some things that we've gotten normalized with when I tell people that haven't traveled to America what is going on, that don't really keep up with American news, they are usually like, "Nah, you're not serious." And I'm like, "No, no, this is normal." So before we get any further, definitely shout out to everybody. Not shout out, but my thoughts, and I hate to say that, thoughts and prayers, but realistically, I'm not looking to overstep by pointing this out. Like, enough is enough. You guys had, if you just getting off of work, maybe you saw, maybe you got a notification, but there was another mass incident in the United States. Children were lost, and a lot of people are starting to realize that this is what the America gives you. Monday through Sunday, you can expect anything like this to happen in anywhere. And one time, or at one time, we were in a place in America where we were actually upset, saying things like, never again, we're not going to allow this to happen. However, depends on how old you are, you have seen the first incident turn into multiple incidents, different places, different involvements of different people. But let alone the same thing, the T's and the P's come out, the thoughts and the prayers. And you guys may be looking at this in a scenario of, is that what all the world has to offer? Is this normalized no matter where it is that I go? And the short answer is no. There's so many things that we have gotten used to just living in America. Never mind the mass incidents. So many things that we used to at one point be alarmed about or outraged. And now, because that's just the way it is, then that is just what we accept. We have seen so many different struggles, movements go on. Depends on what portion you may fall into. You've seen civil rights movements, you've seen LGBTQ movements, you've seen women's movements, you've seen a number of different movements just in the United States that were just fighting for bare necessities. Now, don't get me wrong, because depending on which one you fall in, depending on what country, you might be in a similar scenario or even worse. I'm not painting the move abroad scenario as this. It's everywhere is the fix to your problems. Just leave the America. That's not the reality. But a lot of you may be going under a lot of stress being in one of those categories. You may be going under a lot of stress being in none of those categories, but just living inside of the United States. So hopefully this conversation tonight will help frame for you not only an understanding of what you guys have now normalized, and maybe it's a wake-up call for, oh yeah, I remember when we didn't think that this was normal, but also what could be waiting for you on the other side. Now, I always tell you these general conversations, you are you. So maybe you are a woman, but maybe you aren't in the LGBTQ. Maybe you are both of those. maybe you are none of those and there is a guy, and as a black person living in America, you have experienced a certain life when interacting with other people that aren't like you. What does that look like abroad? Those things do need to come in. Yesterday we talked about how do you narrow your destination down. And I always tell you guys about visualizing your why, but not just from in your head and your eyeballs, but writing it down and understanding, because if you are in a marginalized group and you have not wanting to feel like that on your dream board, vision board, to-do list with moving abroad, then why would you go? I know it's bad in the United States, but why would you go somewhere where you are also going to be in the same turmoil? Except it's going to be even exasperated because you are going to be in a new culture, in a new language, in a new environment, trying to grasp onto something where you already were in a state of turmoil. So take that into consideration. Now, one thing as, Black Americans, I tell people all of the time, and I can't speak for everybody, and I do not speak for everybody. I'm only speaking for myself. And maybe this resonates with you, and maybe you have a different experience. That's okay. But I definitely am certain that I ran into the first time that I was treated like an American outside of America. Growing up in America, yeah, we're all Americans and what that looks like, but being of a certain subset of people, I was running into scenarios where I really didn't have, red, white, and blue pride, the American pride. I'm from America, considering, my grandparents, them being of a certain age, looking at trying to navigate, my grandparents were old enough to where they were at a time in their life sharecroppers. So anybody knows about sharecropping, it's like what happened after slavery, those kind of things. And their relatives were also in a position of that from at least one generation back. And you look at that and it's just like, yeah, I don't really feel that excited about America. Yet, we all grew up, we talked about the Great Migration. So many people after slavery moved from the South to different places, the Northeast, the Midwest, the West. These things, although slavery was over, racism became a new thing that was even more ingrained into what America. I say racism in America is almost as American as apple pie. You've got these unique scenarios that are going on now in the United States where you back at home are seeing, whether you have kids or younger cousins or friends with kids, you're seeing certain histories being taken out or being told in a way where it appeases a certain people that may have been benefactors of said wrongdoings. These things are relative. Never mind what happens when you go out of your house and you go into a room and you realize, oh, I'm the only person that's in here that looks like me. You run into multiple scenarios where you're at work and certain microaggressions or people utilize certain language in a certain way when speaking to you and only you and or people that look like you. And it's a marked understanding that there's something going on here. Now, racism looks a lot different in different ways, and it's given in a way where a lot of things are almost in America coded into the language. And the way that things work right now, people are using words in ways that the word doesn't mean, and also not understanding like what the word racism means. Before we get into all of the global and American things, racism is a scenario where it's like a people that are in power are utilizing said power to put people that are in a particular color under a certain microscope and saying that this is how they're going to act, this is how they're going to do, doing and putting in laws in place to continuously put them in a disadvantage. These are things that have gone on since before I was born and have gone on since before my grandparents were born and seemingly aren't about to slow up. And a lot of people are like, well, maybe it's different if I leave. American chattel slavery is, I would definitely say it's not isolated to America because it happened. multiple places. So many of our brothers and sisters of the African diaspora are in places like Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Jamaica, multiple different islands. Places even in Mexico. People were leaving slavery in the South and were going to Mexico. You guys need to understand that we are so much more connected. And once you understand, once you get out and you start to understand Black people more, we all went through the same thing. One of the coolest things, and not cool in a it was cool from a kindred spirit scenario and getting to learn the African diaspora better, my brothers and sisters of the diaspora. However, it definitely let me know, as bad as it is and was in the United States, we ran into some scenarios where these people, shout out to my boy Dre, I just saw him come on. In Jamaica, the people that were in Colombia, they were going through the same things. We have our folk heroes. We have Harriet Tubman. We have Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Sojourner Truth. We have all of these people that we know, and we know all of the Americans people. But I tell so many Americans, Black people abroad know every one of ours, but do we know any of theirs? Because so many of the similar stories, a woman or a man going back into slavery, trying to do their best to free people from those enslavements. People don't even understand. There's a town in Colombia, about an hour out of Cartagena, called Palenque. Palenque is the first free town of Africans in all of the Americas. They actually got their sovereignty from Colombia before the United States became an actual nation. So many people think that the slavery in America was the start of what happened to Black people from Africa that were shipped everywhere. People are going to Cartagena now and not realizing that they are actually in one of the first and oldest slave ports on this side of the world. Yes, those beautiful buildings and those beautiful stalls that you see that are now turned into souvenir shops and different jewelry shops, those were where your people were held until they went into the square after being taken from all of these places. We can actually see. So if you're thinking that it's not going to be there when you get there, you may not know what you've been looking at. Now, I tell you, America has its own brand. So, American racism is definitely between those lines. However, racism is all over the world. If you think there's no racism, racism is like water. Water is almost everywhere in the world. However, some people will say, well, no racism exists here. No racism exists in Colombia. No racism exists in. We don't see people. We don't see people like that. And I'm like, that sounds convenient. So, yes, different racism is abroad and is available for you. However, it is going to look different. Depends on who you ask. I have Afro-Colombian friends that tell me flat out, racism is definitely here. I see it every day. And then other Afro-Colombians may not see it that way. It's not my job or my duty to be the mouthpiece and dictate what their experience is. However, what I can see is that if there is no racism in Colombia, Mexico, Panama, wherever you want to, whatever country you want to go put it as, on this side of the world, you have to consider this. If that is true, then why in places that there are the majority of the Black people on the coast are those consistently the most underfunded? You go back to comparing apples to apples and looking back into the United States. Some of the blackest populated cities in the United States are the most underfunded. They're the most crime ridden because everybody's on top of each other and fighting over bare resources. So many people know me to be from Philadelphia, but I tell people I'm from Philadelphia. I'm not from Pennsylvania. Because Pennsylvania, when you get about an hour outside, yes, you have the Amish, but you have these pockets of Pennsylvania where coal and mining was the main industry. And now people aren't making money off of coal and mining. So you've got poor places that are in Pennsylvania that are dirt poor. And they happen to be of a certain hue. So you guys have to understand that this isn't just what happens in America. This is a global effect. So many of us as Black people think that the story actually starts at slavery. Let me tell you that isn't true. What you do find out abroad that you don't find as much of when it comes to racism, you find more understanding of story, of what we are and who we are and what we were prior to us given the undaunting task of being enslaved in these different places. So, to prepare yourself to go abroad and understanding does racism exist, prepare yourself that yes, it exists everywhere. In different ways, it may shape itself up, but it all boils down into the same pot at the bottom line that yes, it's going to happen. Now, what will happen that you haven't been afforded probably yet. Kanye said, even if you in the band, you still a brother in the coop. That is often times in the United States. You could be driving a Ferrari, you could be driving a very nice car in a very nice neighborhood, and somebody say, well, who is that in this neighborhood? Next thing you know, you're having a conversation with the Barry, as Ice Cube liked to call them, the police. Doesn't matter. You got all the stuff, you got all the things, but they still could possibly see you as. Remember when Barack Obama wore the tan suit? The outrage of how can a president of the United States stoop so low, wear something so unpresidential? Remember the disgust and the disdain. It was talked about as if he had done something crazy, like committed a felony. Yes, these things happen. Yet when you go abroad, you do run into things that you are probably getting back in the United States. I told y'all yesterday, you may be in a position where the first time that you are treated as an American with the privilege that they say Americans have is when you go abroad. Hola, gringo. Hold on, man. I'm a black dude. I'm a gringo. Yes, you are a gringo. And you're like, what do you mean I'm a gringo? So if I'm sitting next to a racist person from the United States and we are all sitting on you would call us the gringos? Like there's no difference. Y'all both just Americans? Yes. Be prepared. Be prepared that for the first time ever, depending on what subcategory of Americans you're in, you may be treated America first. What does that feel like? Let me tell you, it is eye opening. It is eye opening. You really like, wait, excuse me? So, I have spent 30, I moved when I was 35. I've been 35 years in America, being treated like I was some sort of like, whatever. Yet, the first time I get on the other side and I'm walking around, they're like, hello, American, how are you doing? What is going on in America? Can you tell me because you are an American? Yes. Now, what does happen is depends on which way you look like. Because yes, I look like this. You look like yourself. You may blend in even more to a local population than I do. So what happens, and you immediately realize, oh, there is some underlyings here. So when you go to some of these places and there is an Afro community, you're not on a resort and you're actually a part of the community walking and you go into places, the security might be a little bit more tuned into what you are doing. Go down one aisle, look up, person's looking at down there. What you doing? Go down another aisle, person's looking down. I have been in scenarios where that has happened to me multiple times going into a new neighborhood where nobody has seen me ever before, but all they see is this face and me, my skin. And they literally like, he's interesting. Let's see what he's got going on. But after multiple times going in there, nobody even cares anymore because they realized, oh, he's an American. At first, it was what I looked like on outward appearance, which caused alarm or caused them to want to know what it was that I was doing. Yet, after multiple stops, or maybe I'm walking around on the phone and somebody hears me speaking English, well, he's got money. I tell y'all, even if you're broke in the United States on a global scale, you guys probably have way more money than the average person. You think, oh, I'm broke. I'm not saying just you're real broke, but if you're thinking you're broke, oh, I only make $30,000 a year. Well, $30,000 a year is more than. So I know at least in Colombia, the average monthly salary. Now, obviously, this gets skewed by people that way make more, but you just take the average. It's about $450 USD a month. A good job may pay 2 to 3 thousand a month. So you could be at the higher end scale of a different place. And you might say, oh, that's a third world country. No, stop. One thing I want to make sure that we all are in agreement with on this platform and in this, and when we have these conversations, the third world country is where you are, not often where I am in broadcasting and or telling you where to possibly look into. I say that is because you can't call anywhere else a third world country when majority of your citizens can't read. Majority of your citizens go to a job that doesn't allow them, based off of a 40-hour work week, to afford house and food. Most of you cannot afford to get sick and or afford to get better. These are all realities. So before you go pointing the finger, I hate to sound like a kindergarten teacher pointing the finger, but you've got three of them pointing back right at you in America, sitting there saying, well, that's a third world country. You are living a third world life. Now, what this conversation does is hopefully prepare you to get used to what you're not used to, get an understanding of you are going to feel different on the other side. Racism feels different on the other side. Somebody might be treating you in a different way that may not be racist, but it might be classist because, well, you have a certain amount of money, so I'm going to cater to you in a different or a certain way. Or I think that you have all of the money. So the price for something that is $5 is actually $25 because I think that you have a lot of money. And you can say, oh, I'm broke. I don't have anything. But one, you can't say that in no local language. Two, you may come around and with your things on that United States people love to do, wearing their bank accounts and bodies, Versace shirts and Rolex watches and diamond earrings and chains of this nature. Like these chains are from Colombia. Like this is a gem. This is a crystal. This is nothing crazy. Like I don't have any of these wild things that so many Americans are running there for, and then not realizing that they're just thinking about racism, not realizing that yes, you are going to run into it, but the first thing you're going to run into is you're an American and how they're going to treat you because they think that you have more money, and technically you do. So make sure your expectations are set where they need to be, if that makes sense for you guys. Hopefully it does. Now, what I will tell you is it goes back into the community piece because the community is going to dictate what it is your daily life is like there. Belonging is one of the things that I tell you you will find in abroad if you go about doing it the right way. You'll find people that you've never met that feel like family. People that you've just met feel like in 5 minutes you've known them all your life. People that speak a different language as their first language. And maybe you meet and both of you now are speaking their local language, or maybe you meet at English and they're helping you. But you'll find such a sense of belonging because the one thing that I appreciated the most out of moving abroad was people like people for people. And that maybe sounds convoluted and maybe it sounds real simple. But I feel like in the United States, you do run into multiple scenarios where you're like, I don't feel like people are actually here for me. You walk down the street and you say, "Hey, how you doing?" They're like, "I'm like, what are you talking to me for?" Or they're like, "Fine," and keep it moving. A lot of people are in scenarios where that is their normal life. When I go back home to the United States, it's kind of weird because I'm used to being in places where people are like, "Hola, cómo estás? Buenos días." Then they wait for you to respond, even if you don't know them. And then I go home, all excited, I guess, just to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, shit, back in Florida. That's not going to work. People are not looking at me like they want to just say hello. They don't care about anything. And so many of that has translated to the relationships that you have, whether they're existing relationships, families, friends, whether it's your people that you work with, whether it's people in your neighborhood. Neighborhoods used to be different. Things used to be different in communities. Communities used to look out for each other. People would watch out for your kids if they're down the street, but they got their eye on them, but your house is a little too further out of their eye. People would look at things happening to their neighbors and say, that's not okay. No one can come into my community and do this to our community. These things now Oh, don't bother me. Doesn't pay me any. And what is happening is you guys aren't realizing that the breakdown of just basic humanity is happening in the United States. Yes, nobody's getting together. How many cookouts have you been to recently? How many opportunities where the game nights are starting to get fewer and fewer? People just don't have the time. People need to go make money to get food on their tables, to pay rent. This is all reality, whereas what I see in outside of the United States is that people are paid a wage that allows them to live. There are varying stages of living. Yes, and depends on where you are. You could have a better life than some, or not as good of a life. But the one thing that I've seen, no matter which end of the socioeconomic scale that you are on, want to be people with people. People want to be around their friends, their family. People in America seem to forget that your job in the world, your goal in life wasn't to make money. It was to live a good life, eat good food, laugh, make memories with people that matter. We oftentimes do not have the time to do this anymore. So the sense of belonging that we as humans crave is naturally present abroad. I love in Colombia. Last year, my lawyer, shout out to Daniel, he goes, I think it was like 15th November. Maybe it was towards the end of the month. But December is one of my favorite times in Medellin. Like literally, you get to see all of the beauty that it has. It's warm, pretty much spring like all the time. You've got the river. It is lit up with all of the Christmas lights. Everybody is having a good time with friends and family. I was texting my lawyer last year, trying to get some paperwork settled, and he was like, "Hey, bro, yeah, I'm on this. I'll get this to you before the 28th because after that." You don't plan on hearing from me until probably about the 15th of January. 15th of January? That's an extended vacation. And he's like, yeah, family and friends. I really don't have any time for anything else. And so many people abroad, we are used to in America picking up extra shifts because capitalism says you need to go purchase your family's happiness. Buy them the toys, the games, the stuff. You got these little kids and you're buying them the dollhouse and all this stuff. And by February come, they're not even playing with none of the stuff that you spent all that extra time away from them so that you could afford the stuff that you need. Yet abroad, people are like, man, yeah, Christmas, gifts, I guess, whatever, that's cool. But we want to spend time with each other. We want to break bread, crack a couple beers open, laugh with each other, enjoy our time. Y'all aren't even for remembering that the goal of life isn't to get a bunch of things and work all your life to say you have a dollar amount. You guys are living in a time frame, and I tell people this all the time. I want them to make bottle caps the new currency because you would all of a sudden see people shift from US dollars to shifting to bottle caps. They would be hoarding bottle caps to no end. And you say, that's a lot. Well, hold on, hold your horses. Yes, the US dollar, the euro, and all of these things are in right now. However, you seem to forget the elephant in the room, which is cryptocurrency, which came out of nowhere. At one point, it was nothing. Somebody used 500 Bitcoin at one point to purchase one pizza. It's the world's most expensive Bitcoin at over $100,000. But where did it come from? How many cryptocurrencies have you seen rise and fail? People put their money into things, and it's just like, you're putting all of your life value into something that they could just change the target tomorrow. You do realize that, right? They could say, well, if you would have been holding Ripple or XRP for this entire time, you'd be a quadruple billionaire. Well, what is that? The average person doesn't have financial literacy in the United States. The average person is too overworked and overwhelmed to go about thinking about let me go educate myself on finances when I don't even have the finances to make sure I go home to someone. So many of you guys that are on the internet are preaching these things to people and not realizing that people just want to feel like they're a human. They want to feel a sense of belonging. They don't want to feel like I got to just work my way. You're not working hard enough. I work 60 hours a week. How much harder can I work? We're not doing it the right way. I go to a job for someone else. Everybody can't be an entrepreneur. Everybody can't start a business. Everybody doesn't want to have that much responsibility. But people are preaching hard work as if that is just the end. Hard work that leads to where? Does that hard work lead you to more responsibility, or does it lead you to what you really want? Time with family and friends. So many people abroad are actually seeing that time with family and friends spent back. I spend an hour and I live abroad with you guys Monday through Friday, away from my family and my friends, because I understand the only way that you are actually going to change your life is if you actually have some useful resources, some knowledge, some education, some tips. Put them in your relocation journey backpack so that you can go, and then when you run into a thing, you go, oh, I got something in my backpack for this. Yeah, I saw that coming. I knew this was going to be a challenge when I got there. What do you do with the freedom that your body craved that you never had and then now you have it? This is why I tell you the preparation for moving abroad is a dual process of where you are today, the optimism of what you hope to have, and then bringing in real stories and real conversations like, yo, when you listen, the first time you get treated like an American, you're going to be like, what the heck? The first time you realize that you have been chasing a dollar amount on your salary or on your paycheck, you have been chasing, the stuff, the things, the cars, the house, the neighborhood, the clothes, the watch, the sneakers. You have been chasing all of that stuff, and what your real body wanted, what your real heart and your soul wanted, was belonging, wanted family, you wanted community, you wanted to feel like you were actually living. This is on the other side. I don't know where you're looking to go. I can only help shape the narrative, to bring my friends on that will help you bring on, if you're looking to move, help you and meet you at the airport and show you around, show you everything that you need before you make a decision. That's my job. My job is also to wake you the hell up, snap out of it, give you something and make you, challenge you to think just a little bit further than just, I'm going to move abroad because it's $40 to eat over there. Move further past that. Really look into the things. Turn on the news. You say you don't want to turn on the news. Turn on the news and see what America has for you and ask yourself, is that what I want? You got kids that y'all are raising, and turn on the news today and see, is that what you want? Minnesota today, ever the next couple of weeks, it's not going to change. Nothing about what is going on here, there, in the United States is in a position to give you hope, optimism, faith that there is going to be some sort of change. Where has the change been? It's just more people passing. There's just more events happening. So I tell you, this is an opportunity for you to change your life. This could be the literal turning point. You can look at the age you are today, and when you go to move and you say, I can look exactly when my life changed. I can look exactly when my life changed. I was 35 years old. It was in the end of February. I moved like March 2nd or something like that. I remember the weirdest thing when I moved, and I was like, I will never forget this. I remember uh, going, and I think it was a overnight flight, something like that. What I remember was looking out of the window on the airplane. It's pitch black outside, except there's some really bright in the in the sky, and it was the moon. But the moon was orange, like it looked like the sun. It was so bright and beautiful, but it was the moon. It was dark outside, and I was just like, I don't know what this means because I've never seen anything like this. As many planes that I've taken, but maybe this is a sign. Maybe this is a sign of better things on. And I was only halfway privy to what it was that I could expect. I didn't know that that was going to be the first time I was treated as an American. I didn't know that I would be walking down the street and stop myself and just say, is this what I was supposed to be feeling in life? Because I had that moment. I stopped myself walking down the street. I was in Medellin, and I said, I thought that I had figured out what I needed in life to be happy and wanted in life to be happy. But I realized in the middle of a street in Medellin that I had it all. What I really needed was what I had. I needed not to have to look over my shoulder or feel like I had to work hard all the time, every 7 days a week, 100 days out of hours out of the day, just to be able to be like, all right, my head's above water. One accident or incident, major incident being like, oh, now I'm set back. So many people in America are in this position. Now, if you're not in this position, maybe it's not for you. Cool, 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 cool. Not saying everybody is in a state of turmoil, but I am saying everybody is in a state of turmoil. And I say that is because you may not feel that you're in a state of turmoil. But if you are paying attention to some of these conversations, if you're paying attention to some of these things I'm saying and what you have gotten normalized to, you might wake up and say, wait a minute. I didn't realize that I was actually stressed out about sending my kids to school. I didn't realize I was stressed out about what food that I'm gonna get from the grocery store and is it gonna give them a problem. I wasn't stressed out about taking my kids to a sports game or an event and we running into some sort of American incident. Do you feel like you're in turmoil now? Do you feel like things aren't adding up where it is that you have worked that hard to get? You should be in a lot better quality of life than what America affords you based off of the amount of hours you have put in to the work that America has given you. However, so many people are coming up short. When they look at it, they're like, this isn't adding up. I do all the stuff. I make more money than my parents made when they were my age, yet I don't have any of the spending power that they have. I work more often than I'm able to enjoy myself. And then when I do enjoy myself, I'm just buying stuff and things that goes in and out. Once you put it on, once you wear it, once somebody else sees it, once again, the stuff and things, most of the time we think that it comes down to what it is that we like. But here's the thing though, that is halfway true. Because a lot of it, and I can tell you, Americans wear their bank accounts on their bodies. We want people to know that we have certain things because that is where we have put the value in the common man. Well, he's got a Rolex. He must be a great businessman. He's driving a BMW. Surely he's got it all together. We've put the value of people into purchases. And that has ruined whatever the American dream was, ruined whatever we thought we were getting out of America. And now, what more people are saying once they go on the other side is, yo, you can have all the stuff and things, Ferrari, multiple Ferraris, but these people are going to hang out with their friends and family when they want to. Or you could have nothing. My pops used to say, a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. You don't even have that. But you will see people in those same places that are at least happy because they're able to spend time with their family doing things. Now, everybody in the world that is poor probably want more money, but some people I've met, they're like, I'll work harder, but I'm not willing to make work my life and not living. I need to make money so I can afford to have the time to enjoy the little bit of life I have. So many of you guys are in the scenario where you're maybe 35 years old and thinking, oh, I got another 40, 50 years if you're lucky. Nothing is guaranteed to any of us. So you have to consider what is your value in belonging and everything else because you put into what you have to deal with as far as safety in the United States. And I tell people, I don't have these issues that you have. I just don't. I really don't. So when I go, I'm in Colombia, and I remember this time. Shout out to AJ. He kept me humble on this because I realized I had a lot of American baggage on me. And this is 2.5 years being in, and I'm still like, whoo, this stuff is heavy. So we're at this bowling alley, and it's really loud. It's really loud. We're damn near like yelling at each other to talk to each other. But as loud as it is, I hear some yelling, but it sounds like screams. And I said, well, what are these screams that I'm hearing over all this scattered noise? And I started looking. I'm like, what is that? Do I need to look out? Is something to happen? And I could hear him immediately say to me, you aren't in America anymore. And I bust out laughing. And I said, damn, you caught me. You're right. So I'm used to in a scenario where people start screaming in a crowded place in America and yelling. You see somebody running, you just start running. You see somebody screaming, you're like, something happening? Do we need to find an exit? Do we need to get out of here? Yet, not saying that just Colombia is this place where nothing happens. Obviously, everybody knows that's true. Or anywhere. Everybody knows that's true. But the mass incident scenario, I think the consistency of it is in America like it is nowhere else. It is a thing that has now become easy to be a part of, and even if you don't want to subscribe to it. Anywhere you go, it's nowhere that you can go. You could be at church, you could be in a movie theater, you could be at the grocery store. It doesn't matter. And one of the things I realized is abroad, I don't normally have to think that. I don't have to carry that burden. I don't have to weigh that on my body. Those aren't things that I have. So when I tell you, when you move abroad, you take a weight off that you don't know how heavy it is until you no longer are wearing it. However, the moment that I tell people, because people say, "Well, you live abroad, you must never come back to the United States." I go to the United States all the time, just in and out. But what I tell people is, you really don't. You feel the lightness when you get out, and you're like, "Man, I didn't realize that I was worried about this. And I don't have to worry about it." But when you go back to America and you have to put that weight back onto your body, well, I'm in America for 48 hours. I got to watch out at the grocery store, at the church, at this and that. That weight is heavier than it was when you didn't know it was on your body. And you may immediately be like, I got to get out of here because living like this doesn't even make any sense anymore. That is the perspective of somebody that has left. But for somebody that is in it, for somebody that has consistently been around it, for somebody that has only lived that experience, you don't know what problems that you are in. So when you're talking about safety, yes, things can happen in these other places for certain. Things look different. I tell people all the time, they ask me about, well, you live in Colombia, is it safe? I said, let me tell you something. Anybody that knows black women know that they're not playing about their safety. And I'm not saying that Colombia or anywhere you go is just going to be the safest place. However, there are so many single black women that are living in Medellin. Not only living in Medellin, but I would say that the dating pool for single black women is not also the highest populated pool either. Yet still so many of them are coming and still so many of them are there. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because it's unsafe? I think that's almost a litmus test of safety because black women, from my understanding, will not play about their safety. Some people will put themselves in harm's way. I don't see it. As a person that runs group travel, does relocation tours, and most of the people that are coming on these are black women, I'm telling you. So when it comes down to safety, many of these places abroad are often safer than what it is that you consider to be in the United States. That's the first thing. Many of the things that you've gotten used to and normalized don't often happen. Now you can run into other things, maybe, robberies, like hand-to-hand crimes, those kind of things, stupid petty stuff, but you'd be surprised some of the mass things that you don't have to deal with. And a lot of times, not saying that everybody or anybody is invincible, but a lot of times the people that are getting put in those situations or those things are happening to, about like somebody taking your phone or something like that, or taking your watch. Well, you got a $5,000 watch on in a place where everybody makes $400. Let's do the math and consider that you got a year's salary on your wrist, sir. Take it off. That makes sense. Don't go about wearing your bank account on your body. Remember, you are a person. Your wealth, your items, your jewelry. That's not your value. That's not your value, bro. It's okay. Yes, they say that the term is, if you a lame with no money, you're gonna be a lame with money, and that's a fact, Jack. Listen, your value is not with money. You are going to be a cool person or with it or without it, a lame person with it or without it. If somebody only wants you with it, from my best experience living abroad, then they aren't really people that you need to be around. If you have to have a Rolex to be in the room. Is that where your value is in your own life? So many of you guys are going to have to reset your value line of where things are. Yes, understanding that there are a number of nuances that are going to be different than what it is that you have expected and experienced in America. One, racism is going to be on the other side of the TSA. It might look a little different, but it's still there. You're going to have to learn the different nuances and cadences of where it is that you are. Thinking that it's not there, that's going to be, I would say, to start off in the wrong foot. However, I wouldn't go into a negative scenario like everybody's a racist. That's not. Don't don't do that. More so in understanding that you take you wherever it is that you go around the world. And there are all different kinds of black people. I know you guys are just finding out there's black people in Ireland. I know you're finding out there's black people in Scotland. I know. My boy told me, he's like, you love black people so much, Raj. Why'd you move to Colombia? Do you know how many black people are in Colombia? Yes, a lot of Americans, black Americans, don't know how many black people are a part of the global diaspora. It's also why we do our best to show you some of these things, to give you understanding and education that yes, every American was the last person. They were the last persons. The people from Brazil, the people from Colombia, the people from Venezuela, the people from Jamaica, they were all taken years before and dropped off there before they said, oh, let's take them over there. Mind you, once again, your story does not start with slavery. And what I find abroad is the actual stories of who we are, the actual history, the traditions, the ceremonies, the food. How are people eating all of these same derivative food? How many different kinds of jollof are there in the Black America, in different places in the Caribbean, in places in Latam? There are so many different similar recipes, similar food items that are cooked in a certain way, liquors that are ancestral and they aren't just liquor, it's actually medicinal. And these things are a part of the tapestry that has weaved the African diaspora. So, yes, racism is available anywhere you go. But what also is available is your brothers and sisters that still have a lot of traditions that we may not remember, that we may not have, and the opportunity to reconnect them, to reconnect with them, to learn from them, share resources, ideas, understanding. That is bigger than is there racism there? The opportunity to become a prouder black global citizen is huge. Never mind just for the average American running into different places where they got into being uncomfortable and now they're challenged to be a better person and reset their values. I don't know who is watching it, what level and where you may fall into the traveler that is looking to move abroad, but I will tell you is you are ready, you are about to embark on a life changing experience. You could come and not have a good time if you aren't prepared. The safety things, you taking all your valuable assets, your Versace shirt that you don't wear a shirt under, you just keep it buttoned, 3 buttons, and that's all you need. Nobody cares about that but the wrong people. So when you guys talk about safety abroad, one, stop wearing your bank accounts on your body. That's going to be the start of where your safety starts. You walk around looking like a tourist with $1,500 phone, walking around. Saw a guy put a video up and he was in Colombia and he was in a taxi and he had his phone on. I was like, oh, look at this view. And I'm like, you don't know where you are. There are motos that will go past so fast and swipe that phone. And the taxi going to say, what am I going to do? I'm a big car. He's weaved out and just going. Don't give yourself a bad problem if you don't have to have one. Like, it's just common sense stuff. It's easy to say safe. You know, when you get involved with the communities, people will tell you things that will help you. Common saying in Colombia is no dog papaya, which is like, don't wear your bank account on your body. Don't walk around like with a big $5,000-$10,000 chain and you're looking at the airport because people will see you at the airport and will find you. These are things that you will have the best time not taking America's core values with you. Leave them over there. And then by the time you go back to them, you might not even need them. Why do I have a $10,000 chain with my name on it? I know my name. I want everybody else to know my name. And then I'm going to spend 10,000 extra dollars on something that is for who? Because once you have that chain, after it's just your chain, and you just put it on, it's cool. It's like, it's just my chain. The only people that are further impressed by it are the people that haven't met you or haven't seen you with that chain. So once again, who are you trying to impress? Are you trying to live your life, or are you trying to impress someone that is also stuck in the rat race and stuck in a hole where they're trying to revalue stuff and things and repurpose stuff and things in the quality of life? It's real. Your safety aspect, it's going to look different. We do not turn on the news here and see these things often. Some places and isolated places, yes, but most of the places that you guys are looking to go, these aren't things that are the everyday occurrence, yet they are in the United States. What do you do with that? The sense of belonging that you crave as a natural human being on this world, these things come easily, organically abroad, because maybe you are more than just what I can do for somebody. Strangers will ask you, how's your day? And wait for you to respond. You don't even ask anybody to do something for you until you say, hello, how are you doing today? Well, that's awesome. I was wondering if most of the people in the United States are used to just very straightforward conversation. Hey man, I need this tomorrow. Can you get it for me? I need it at $25. Is that cool? Hello, how are you doing? I think I get people a lot of that, because I get obviously a lot of American people messaging me, reaching out to me, and they're like, "Hey, I saw your post and wanted to know more about your relocation tours." And I just message them back and say, "Hey, how are you doing today?" And that's it. Let's start there. Because we are humans sharing an earth with each other. Like, do you guys forget that? Everything doesn't have to be head down, money, money, money. Head down, what can I make today? Head down, what can I wear that will let them know that I'm the man? It doesn't have to be that way. If y'all consistently sell your life as what that the value of that is, your life, then it's going to be that way. So, yes, racism is all broad. It's anywhere. You aren't going to escape it as a black person. Now, you are going to run into being treated maybe the first time as an American, and you're going to be like, that's different. What do you do with privilege that you inherently have, but never even got the opportunity to use it? Not like an opportunity, like it's good to use all your privileges. That's not saying that. I'm just saying you have never been given the American privilege that you have, because in America you don't have it. So even though that you feel like you don't make a lot of money, you make maybe a lot of money in another country. You are able to afford things that you weren't able to afford, a lifestyle that you weren't able to afford. But are you going to act like the people that you despise when you're giving said privilege? Are you going to go and flaunt your money and flaunt your wealth? And I see people coming to Cartagena that are from the United States, and the exchange rate is about $4,000. Let's call it 4,000 pesos to a dollar. So you come down here with your vacation money, your $300 to $500, and you change all of it to Colombian pesos, and automatically you're a multimillionaire. The money is different colors. It's big bills, small bills. They're different sizes. People are like, "Oh, this is just 2,000 pesos," but it's a bill. So I just let me get. You're treating it like you guys are in Atlanta in the club. Like, oh, let me get $100 and 2,000 peso bills. What? Yeah, I'm in the club just throwing money. I've seen it. It's the funniest thing. We get treated as American first until we do something that is positioned us in a way where the world and global is seen this way. I'll give you an example. Most of the time, like I said, if American does anything in Cartagena, it's just like extranjero de Estados Unidos. Super straightforward, right? Yup, no problem. Well, I just saw this one thing maybe about a month ago, and it was like, pretty much the headline was like, African American foreigners throw money in the streets of Colombia in Cartagena. I said, "Well, damn, I never seen, I never seen the African American written out." But you do something like that, all of a sudden you start to put a different light on you. And I tell you guys, what do you do with the privilege that you've never been able to exercise? Maybe you've never been able to have enough money to throw it in a club, or have enough money to be in the streets and throw it into people that you assume are poorer than you. But you go to another country and you do these things, and it draws unnatural attention, and it also is extremely disrespectful. But you don't realize that this is your first time exploring and experiencing the American privileges that you didn't know that you had. You see how much of responsibility you have for yourself, much of responsibility you have as what I tell people in the United States is that you could mess it up for everybody. Because what happens is somebody does something, and then this person did this, and if they look like a certain subset of people, then it's like, well, this is the expectations when these people come. This is what happens. But if people aren't used to seeing anybody but on social media, yet the only examples that they're seeing are people doing weird stuff in front of them, and then it's likened also on social media, then their entire perspective is of this. So when I talk to you guys about these conversations, I want to always understand where you are and what you're going through. I want to give you guys hope in understanding that when you get on the other side, there are things that are going to be different. There are things that are going to better your life, your quality of life. However, you could sink your ship before it gets out of the port, not coming with the right expectations, assuming that racism doesn't exist abroad, not realizing that you may get to use American privilege that you never had before and needing to use it wisely. Understanding that the safety concerns that you have in the United States, those ones are America's problems. Colombia's problems are Colombia's problems. Mexico problems are Mexico's problems, and they could look different. What are you okay with? Not okay, because when we talk about real problems like that, nobody's okay with any of them. However, you got to go somewhere. You got to be normalized to something. Oftentimes, like I said, I'm in Mexico right now, and I'm not going to walk outside and think that there's going to be like a mass incident. It's just not something I have to worry about. Can it happen? Anything can happen, but is it likely? No. Turn on the news right now in the United States. It happened again. Are you fed up? It's a question for you. But the one of the biggest things that I tell people is to getting back to being able to be a human being on this earth is one of the biggest things that you will experience. Never mind the racism. I mean, you got to mind it, but never mind that. I know these are things that are a concern, racism and safety, but the fact that you can go and belong again, to feel human, to feel like you are actually valued, to feel like people aren't just looking at you for what you can do, but more so who you are. These are things that are going to establish your life in a way where you didn't realize that this is what you craved and this is what you needed. It's an understanding that happens in this process of moving abroad that you go through that you're like, okay, they almost got me. I almost spent my whole life chasing nothing. At the end of my days, end up with nothing. They say you don't take a U-Haul in the back of the hearse. You guys are accumulating a bunch of nothing. Hopefully this conversation tonight wakes you up, makes you realize that what you are normalized with in the United States does not apply to the rest of the world. Maybe it looks a little bit different depending on where you go, but one thing for certain and two things for sure, the moment that you leave, your life will change. You will see things in a way that you have never been able to see them. You will experience things in a way that you will have never been able to experience before. The one thing that I ask you is, what do you do with all that power? It's up to you to shape your life. It's up to you to transform your life. I can only do my best to wake you up, snap you out of this American matrix, and tell you that there is more to life than what it is that they have sold you. So, I ask again, what do you do with the power that it is that you have? The power to shape your life in a way that you did not think was possible. It's on you. It's not on me. I'm out here. I'm living it. The people I'm with, they're out here. They're living it. They're enjoying themselves. They're seeing more of the world. They are enjoying the community aspect of everything, the different cultures, the different languages, the different foods, everything that comes with what it means to be on this earth. Community, peace, freedom. It's on you guys to go about chasing that and making sure you're doing it in the right way. I appreciate you guys for always tuning in, making sure that you're tapping in. We do our best to be here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. with something that you can use. Tell you guys to either one, go to YouTube, Black Expat Life Abroad. This and all of the other conversations that we've had are all on there. So you can start and just watch as many as you want. They all cover different topics and things that you are going to need to put into your relocation journey book bag and say, this is tips, tricks, hacks, facts, all things that I need to make this move abroad the most successful that I can. So I will see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. ahead of the Labor Day weekend. Hopefully I'm seeing something about reconnecting. Hopefully I didn't miss a lot of people on here tonight with the internet, but all well, all is good. I will see you guys mañana. Be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. My name is RJ Mood. I appreciate you guys as always. Go to moodtravelcolumbia.com. OOD Travel Columbia with two O's.com, moodtravelcolumbia.com. There you can go sign up for our free resources. We've got everything you need to move to Columbia. We got our website in the background working. We've got some more locations that are going to be done. So we will be announcing our website update and the new URL for that. But stay tuned. The show is definitely, it's not even about to begin. It is live. You guys are here, and I thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys tomorrow, and y'all stay safe.